Well, I can't be at a loss for words, or else I would not be able to do this video. But nonetheless, I'm very disappointed in what has happened because there is a big loss in the battle for sound money. We're going to talk about it in this video as we explore. It's a shame, but nonetheless, battles have wins and losses. And so far, there's been a whole lot of wins, but there is 2 states where there's been some losses in the revolution for sound money. In these battles, Maryland and Washington State have imposed sales taxes on gold and silver bullion. This is pretty disappointing. Imagine, if you will, taking one of these silver and gold coins and or taking any money that you have and going to the store and having to pay taxes on that money, because gold and silver are money. That's exactly what's been happening with all these states that in the past have charged taxes on gold and silver, and not only taxes when you buy them but also when you sell them. It's really a shame, but I tell you what, one thing is for sure: holding precious metals is something that's invaluable. They will protect you from market instabilities, from market shocks, inflation, and a whole lot of different things. And that's just it. They protect you for not just inflation, but deflation, all sorts of things. This is why I like to buy precious metals. And one place I like to go is Summit Metals. SummitMetals.com is a place you want to go. And there's a special promotion going on right now for my viewers with the code SummitSalivateSummer for $10 off of orders $500 or more, and this expires on the 31st of July. So what's going on with Maryland and Washington right now? Well, over the past few years, several states have exempted gold and silver bullion from sales taxes, but during the 2025 legislative session, 2 went in the opposite direction, according to the Sound Money Defense League. Bills have passed in Maryland and Washington State and imposed sales taxes on bullion, effectively levying a tax on exchanging one type of money, which is dollars, for another type of money, gold and silver. Yes, indeed, it's crazy. In Maryland, the Budget Reconciliation and Financing Act of 2025, introduced by House Speaker Adrian Jones on behalf of the Governor Westmore administration, includes provisions that impose a sales tax on gold and silver bullion coins unless the total transaction is greater than $1,000 and the sale occurs at the Baltimore Convention Center. In practice, the sales tax will apply to all bullion sales that don't occur in an event at the convention center. Grossly unfair for so many different ways and reasons, especially if you're on a limited income and are trying to protect your wealth. Inflation hurts those on a limited income much more than those on a greater income. And so things that the Democrat, and by the way, Maryland is a heavy Democrat state, all the principles that they stand for, like taxing the rich, for instance, and tax relief for the poor, this works in an exact opposite way for them. It punishes the poor and empowers the rich, because all they got to do is spend $1,000 or more, and they're exempt from taxation. It's ridiculous. In Washington, Senate Bill 5794, sponsored by Senator Jesse Solomon and 11 fellow Democrats, simply repealed the sales tax exemption on previous metal bullion or monetized bullion that had been in place since 1985. That's unprecedented, but for a state like Washington, it probably should not surprise us. Still, I hate to hear this. Now, a Sound Money Defense League director, J.P. Cortez, said these states not only bucked a nationwide trend, but they will harm a large number of people in those states. Unfortunately, Washington and Maryland have recently turned to taxing constitutional money as a means of revenue generation for the state. The overwhelming trend nationwide is to end taxes on the metals, but dollar amount thresholds and venue conditions like Maryland has imposed, or outright full imposition of taxes on the metals like in Washington, harm investors, dealers, and even state revenues, which will likely decrease. That's right, decrease as a result of commerce, business, and tourism and convention dollars leaving the state. That's exactly right. He hit it, the nail on the head. That's what taxation does. Overbearing taxation. Well, the free market, in a sense, works in it as an interstate commerce when they will work with neighboring states and deal in neighboring states. And this is why they didn't hit the Baltimore Convention Center, because Baltimore has one of the largest coin shows in the nation. The Whitman Baltimore Coin Show that occurs, I think, twice a year, is a big deal and a big revenue generator, big money maker. Now imagine if you ask a grocery clerk to break a $5 bill and he charged you a 35-cent tax. Seems ridiculous, but you are only exchanging one form of money for another. But that's essentially what a sales tax on gold and silver does. By levying taxes on the exchange of gold and silver, states treat gold and silver specie more like a commodity instead of money. And make no mistake, gold and silver are commodities as well. But indeed, they are monetary metals. There's no question about that. We ought not to tax money. And that's a good idea. It makes no sense to tax money, according to former U.S. Representative Ron Paul, according to testimony in support of an Arizona bill that repealed capital gains tax on gold and silver in that state. Paper is not money, it's fraud, he continued, although I do disagree to some extent with that. I do agree it's fraudulent because by design they are decreasing the value of it through inflation. They don't call it inflation when it's at 2%, but that's exactly what they're doing. They're robbing you. So that is fraudulent, but it indeed is still money. It's just money that has a declining store value, and that's unfortunate. I like to think of the dollar as unsound money or bad money. Money nonetheless, but bad for sure. Gold is good money. Silver is good money. And in spite of its price fluctuations, it has stood the test of time and will outlast all the fiat currencies out there, including, yes, even the dollar. No question about that. From a practical standpoint, these taxes further burden people trying to escape the relentless devaluation of their fiat dollars by incessant government money creation. Gold and silver shield people from inflation. They hold their value over time, unlike dollars. Taxes like those imposed by Maryland and Washington erect another barrier in front of people who are merely trying to preserve their wealth over time. These taxes also make it more difficult for people to use gold and silver in transactions. This ultimately supports the Federal Reserve's pernicious monopoly on money. That's for sure. Amen to that. So there is an action plan I want you to do. If you live in the states of Maryland and Washington, I want you to please do me a favor. Write your delegate. Write your state senators. Let them know what you think about this. Be respectful, but I encourage you to reach out to them to tell them you are against this law for the reasons stated in this video. But you can use your own words. But let them know that they should not be taxed. And let them know, especially if you are a low wage earner or in the middle class or lower middle class especially, let them know how it punishes you. And because you are trying to save in gold and silver, and you have to spend $1,000 to make a savings in Maryland, and of course Washington, I don't think it matters. They're just implementing taxes, but nonetheless, let them know what your thoughts are, and make your voices heard. I think the more people that reach out to them, the better off we're going to be, and who knows, it may lead to a repealing of those laws. We'll see what happens, but nonetheless, this is an important thing because let them know, and when that there is an article in the Constitution, Article 1, Section 10, that clearly states that nothing but gold and silver shall be used as money. And you point that out to them, that's a very powerful thing. That article of the Constitution has never been challenged in a court of law or by any of the states. In fact, it is the precipice for which many states have done the exact opposite of what Maryland and the state of Washington are doing. So that should encourage you, because gold and silver are indeed money. And by the way, it does not matter if they don't bend on this and they continue to tax them. Gold and silver shall remain money no matter what. And that is something that we can certainly hang our heads, hold our heads high on, and knowing that as a true fact, that gold and silver are money. Of course, facts cannot be false, so that's redundant for me to say true fact, but I digress. Gold and silver are the money of champions. Paper dollars are the money of slaves, because it's a debt instrument. Debt is slavery, and that debt essentially is being increased with all the interest that is owed on the debt that we're paying, and the inflation that is devaluing this dollar. This paper dollar I've had since it was brand new, and I've shown it in many videos, and it has lost value over the course of that time since I first started showing it to now. In fact, if you measure the value of the dollar compared to gold where it was in 1970 compared to where it is today, it's lost about 99% of its value. So let that sink in. That's pretty big difference there. So let me know what your thoughts are. I strive to bring you the latest news in the world of precious metals, so hope you will consider subscribing to the channel if you've not done so already. So with that being said, I'd like to extend a multitude of gratitude to each and every one of you for taking the time to watch, and encourage you to please rate, share, comment, and subscribe.